I remember sitting on the couch, my grandparents' house, looking out their picture window. I was young at the time, so my feet barely made it to the edge of the seat cushion if I was set back in it the way I was supposed to be. But it was my favorite place to sit, favorite place to be, because it reminded me of the Velveteen Rabbit. Kind of material it was made of. It's the kind of material you could run your finger through and leave a mark so you could draw on it if you wanted. But you could also run your finger the opposite direction, erase your work, start over. Clean slate. Sometimes I wish life was more like that couch. I knew it was snowing outside that day because I was watching it happen. I knew my grandfather was in his recliner reading the paper because I could hear the pages turning every now and then. I knew there was cornbread in the oven because I could smell it. Cast iron pan wasn't hanging on the wall like it usually did. And I knew that if I wasn't careful, I was going to doze off, miss the rerun of the Andy Griffith Show. I knew a lot of things that day, but what I didn't know is that before I would hop off that couch, my life was going to change forever. You see, this was a Tuesday, and that's significant only because normally on Tuesdays, my grandmother had choir practice at church. Seeing that it was snowing outside, they canceled it. So I knew she would rehearse at home before dinner. She respected music too much not to. I was sitting on the couch, and I heard her shuffle over to her keyboard and pull out her stool and open up her hymnal, a book that she'd opened so many times you could tell her what page it turned to. She probably hit it right on the money. She sat down, placed her fingers on the keys, took a deep breath, and she sang this song. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. And I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what she was saying. I knew I loved it. I knew I was drawn to it. I remember thinking, I'm going to do that. I'm going to learn that one day. And in that moment, without question, I fell in love with music. And I didn't just hit the ground running right then and there and start a music career. It didn't happen like that, not for me. I was still chasing bubbles and butterflies, kicking rocks and tin cans, getting stung by yellow jackets, just a little kid living, being. I'll tell you what I did do. I put that love for music in my back pocket, along with my homemade slingshot that my cousin made for me. And I left it there for the next 20 years of my life, and I almost forgot about it. Here's why. You see, just a few short weeks after all this happened, I heard a rumor that a man in red and white, with a big white beard and rosy red cheeks, would soon be delivering presents to people all over the world, all in one night, like magic. Word on the street was if you were on the naughty list, you ain't getting nothing. See, I was nervous. I had a slingshot and I was good with it. So I knew it'd be a coin flip for me. But somehow my coin landed on heads because not only did I get a gift, I got the gift of gifts. I got a gift that would shape my future, change my life. Christmas morning rolls around and my sister and I are in the back bedroom at the end of the hallway. We was waiting on my parents to holler at us, say, "It's ready. Come on down, see what we got." They finally did. I flung that door open. I took off down that hallway as fast as I could go. And that's when I saw it. Didn't have my name on it, but I knew it was mine. It was the biggest gift I'd ever received. It was so big it wasn't even wrapped. I remember thinking, ain't no way Santa Claus got that down the chimney. I bet you he came through the front door. I was drawn to the color of it. It was off-white, bright orange, and royal blue, the colors of my county. I didn't even notice all the other gifts around it that had Cody written on them. I just stood there, captivated, in awe, looking up at a Fisher-Price basketball goal. It won me over. My dad handed me the ball that came with it. Of course, I knew what to do with it. He was a basketball coach, and he played. I'd seen him shoot before. He put that ball in my hands. I stood in front of that basket, put my eye on that rim. I took my first shot. Splash. Nothing but the bottom of the net. And in that moment, I longed for that sound, that feeling of making a basket for the next 2 decades. And for the second time in just a few short weeks, I'd fallen in love with something. From that point on, basketball was life. Life was basketball. I was no longer chasing bubbles and butterflies. I was chasing a worn-out ball down a hill, trying to get to it before it got to the barbed wire fence. I retired my slingshot. All I wanted to shoot now was hoops. As I got older, I started working on my game more and more, started taking it more serious, I wanted to perfect the craft. Lucky for me, I had the best trainer on the planet, my dad. I told him that my dream was to become a college basketball player. I was willing to do whatever it took to make that dream come true. And with his help, that's exactly what I did. In 2005, I graduated from Brevard High School. And I walked the stage at Brevard Music Center. And I went on to play basketball at Brevard College. So yeah, I've been here my whole life. I'm proud of that. My time at Brevard College were some of the best years of my life. It's a chapter that I wish I could reread. I was getting a great education, living my dream, making friends that eventually would stand behind me on the day I said I do. The best thing to ever happen to me. By the time I finished my junior season, I even held a few school records, some that still stand to this day. Everything was perfect. And then my senior year rolls around, and that's when it happened. That's when everything changed. I remember the day well because it was the last day of preseason conditioning before my senior year. Started out normal. Me and the guys are stretching and getting loose, talking about what party we were going to go to that night and what professors were throwing pop quizzes that week. We took off on a warm-up jog around campus, around this very building, past the library, past the cafeteria, and we stopped at a hill about 800 yards behind where I'm sitting right now. Coach said he was going to take it easy on us. He said, you got 15 uphill sprints, and that's it. You're done. 15 uphill sprints is all that stood in between me, my senior season as a college basketball player, my last ride. The first 14 were no problem, and then 15 comes around. I got to the base of the hill and waited for Coach to blow the whistle, and when he did, I took off up that hill as fast as I could go. I couldn't have been a few steps from the top when, bam, sounded like a shotgun went off in my head. That's the way I heard it. That's how I remember it. I went down to the ground. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I just knew my leg hurt and I couldn't get up on my own. They carted me to the training room, and that's where they informed me that I torn the quadricep muscle in my right leg. That's when they told me that my season had ended before it even began. And that's when I realized that my basketball career ended on that hill that day. Wasn't even in uniform, didn't even have a ball in my hands. Just didn't feel right. Took a while for it to sink in, I'd never thought about life without basketball. Why would I? You think about the end all the time, you miss out on the journey. I wasn't going to do that. So yeah, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Angry, upset, irritated, confused, conflicted. I'd felt all that before, but this was different. For the first time in my life, I felt empty. And that scared the hell out of me. So I did the only thing I knew to do. I called my mom. I told her I was hurting, Yeah, sure, my leg hurt, but I was hurt. She said she had a surprise for me, and I'm thinking, if it ain't a new leg, I don't want it. But I could tell she was excited to give it to me because she made a 20-minute drive to my place in less than 15 in a minivan with over 250,000 miles on it. I heard her pull onto the gravel, get out of the car, come through the kitchen door, a door that probably still needs WD-40 to this day. And she just walked in all quiet like, didn't say nothing, just set it down in front of me. And that's how it happened. There it was, my first guitar. I started feeling again. It's like that love for music that had been in my back pocket all those years was finally seeing the light of day. And all of a sudden, one of the worst things that ever happened to me became one of the best. Started getting butterflies again. More importantly, started dreaming again. And this time I was going to reach for the stars. This time I wanted to become a famous musician. And I was willing to do whatever it took to make that dream come true. One thing that basketball taught me, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, on and off the court. I was fixing to take a big one. From that point on, music was life. Life was music. I decided to make learning guitar as hard as possible, so I just taught myself how to play. Just kind of figured it out as I went, you know. Same way I learned everything in my life. Sheer determination and work ethic. Basketball taught me that I had that. So even though they were my own, I knew I was in good hands. It didn't take long for me to realize that writing music was my true passion. It was how I expressed myself. It was my love language. In some ways, it was my only one. I started writing songs about my life, my friends, my family, my truck, my dog. I wrote songs about people that hurt me. I wrote songs about people I hurt. I wrote songs about driving fast, lucky breaks, and the crowd favorite, white liquor, moonshine. Music had become my diary, and with every page I added, I felt better. You give me a sheet of paper and something to write with, I'll tell you who I am in 25 or 30 minutes. You give me a guitar, I'll do it in 3. For over a decade, I did everything I could think to do to make my dream come true, get on the radio, you know. I started a band, started taking my songs to the studio, putting them on the internet for people to listen to, started playing live shows, bars, breweries, casinos, saloons, festivals, birthdays, weddings, you name it, I played it. I even played for a kindergarten class one time. I'm going to be honest with y'all, that's the toughest show I ever played in my life. I wasn't ready for them, and they walked all over me. But I'll say this, I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Somewhere along the way, I couldn't tell you when or where, I realized I lost myself a little bit, kind of checked out. I realized that I wasn't reaching for the stars like I had initially intended on doing. I was trying to become one, and it was consuming me. I'd even forgotten why I started playing music in the first place until somebody reminded me. My phone rang late one evening. It was a buddy of mine. I could hear the damage in his voice right away. I could tell he was hurting. Someone in his family had just passed away unexpectedly, and he wanted me to sing at the funeral. I'd never done one before, so I was nervous about it, but he's too good of a guy to say no to. So I told him I'd do it. I was taken back when he told me what song he wanted me to sing. It was a song I knew well, a song I knew by heart. It was a song I learned some 30-odd years before. When I got to the service, I sat in the corner with my guitar, waited for my cue. When they gave it to me, I stood up, walked over to my stool, sat down, placed my fingers on the strings, took a deep breath, and I sang this song. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved ain't rich like me. And in that moment, I realized I had made it. My dream had come true. It was then I realized that somewhere behind all the years I'd spent teaching myself how to play guitar, teaching myself how to write music, sing the way I wanted to. Somewhere behind all the miles I traveled from show to show, long days, early mornings, late nights. Somewhere behind all the nonsense of social media, trying to figure out the algorithm, what key words to use to get my name out there, my music, my passion. Somewhere behind all that, just a little boy fell in love with music while sitting on a couch that reminded him of the Velveteen Rabbit. He's who I play for now. He's why I do what I do. My name's Cody Hale Siniard. I'm a singer-songwriter from Penrose, North Carolina. This has been one of the most therapeutic things I've ever done for myself, so thank y'all. And even though my talk may be, my story's far from over. Thank y'all. Thank you.